Hallelujah, the LTA North is saved. Or at least that's, I think, what Reddit seems to be thinking on this matter. But regardless, Mark Z released a State of the Union address for the LTA North after a catastrophic split one. This is not going to be a recap video. If you want to see all the information that he put out there and his entire video, which I would highly encourage you to do because this is going to be more of a response than a breakdown of that particular video, please check out the description down below. The video will be linked. A TLDR is also available on Reddit. We can't talk about this until everybody's on the same understanding and same page of information. Got it? Good. Look, overall, the biggest problem that the LTA had, like, moving forward, we'll address the things in the past here in a minute, was that best of ones were going to be a very key part of the league. That being, for the most part, gone is good. And overall, I understand people being happy. The reason why I, in particular, if you saw my raw reaction to this back whenever I streamed it a few days ago, I was relatively unhappy or like unimpressed with some of the changes that were being made, because it's not that they're not good in theory. It's just that I have my version of what I think needs to happen for this league to rebound, and not just rebound to like get back to the numbers that we had in spring of last year, but rebound to try and start building some momentum to eventually get numbers more comparable to the LEC, to other regions. I know that might sound crazy, but that in theory should be the goal. I know there should be baby steps towards getting there, absolutely. But I think in order to get to that point, in order to raise your ceiling, there are some bigger sweeping changes that need to be made. So there are actually quite a few things that are limiting Riot from doing the things that I personally would prefer them to do, including the format that they couldn't talk about in the video, even though they highlighted it. But Mark Z is obviously not going to go any further. So first is this 3 weeks of best of ones that will still exist. And this actually combines with a point that was brought up later in the video on best of ones versus best of threes, and why Riot generally actually does prefer best of ones for North America. Mark Z showed the graph that you're seeing here on my left, which was the fall off of day 1 versus day 2 when there was best of threes. They highlighted that spring best of ones saw less of a fall off than split 1 best of threes or summer best of threes from last year, of which this is objectively true, but I think it's diagnosing the point. You see, sit here and ask yourself, why is there a drop off? What's the difference? Is it actually the format, or is it something else? And my argument would be, no, it's not the format. It's the teams, pretty understandably. The reason why they would want to have best of ones instead of best of threes is because you have Team Liquid, Cloud9, and FlyQuest playing every single day. Granted, against arguably worse opponents potentially. Apparently, there's always inherently going to be a drop-off on the second day of League after people get like their fix of not seeing a team for 5 days, and then they stop caring less as time goes on potentially. But what this means to me is that the bottom weight of teams, those that don't carry as much weight as the big dogs, have not found a way to catch up. And to be fair, that's true in almost every region and every league, that the bottom feeders very much are preying on the top teams within their respective area. The difference between North America and, say, the LCK or even the LEC is just simply the amount of games that we play. The arguments that, oh, we get more days on broadcast to push our narrative and push our story. Well, that's only because we're stuck playing simply 2 days a week. No shit when the LCK plays 4 days a week, so each team gets 2 best of threes each and every time. Yeah, viewership's going to be a little bit more consistent over that course of time. No shit, there's going to be more exposure for those teams. So the answer should be, oh, well, we play more games. But the problem, for those that haven't understood this point, it's $50,000 a day to play a set of games in the Riot Games Arena in Los Angeles. That's not sustainable, because the biggest problem that wasn't mentioned in this entire thing, or was again on that screenshot, was that there are budgetary restrictions. You can only do so much because Riot only has a certain amount of money that they're willing to shell out for this league, because it's only making a certain amount of money. So they're not going to go overboard and go into a deficit anymore. But the truth is, if you want to fix the viewership problem, you would realistically keep best of threes the entire time, because they are the better viewing experience, even for fans of individual teams, in my opinion. The problem that people had was that it was a single round robin best of 3. But if we had a double round robin best of 3, life would be great. Everybody would get more games. There'd be more days where you play, and there's not this argument of like, oh, I only get to see my team 1 day a week. Well, you get it twice, the same amount that you were getting before, and one on a weekday. But the thing is, you can't increase those costs, so why not do it online? Why not add extra games, that extra round robin, but force everybody to play those Thursday, Friday games online from home? We did it during COVID. I don't see what's stopping us here. You can have reduced staff, reduced talent, like you make it as bare bones as possible for like non-studio days because you can get away with doing that because it's not in studio. Maybe on those days you only need the casters. You don't need the full analyst desk, but whenever they're actually in the arena, then you bring in the analyst desk. Or if you do have the desk, it's like 2 people and that's it. Like it's very reduced and like cut down. At the end of the day, I just don't buy this argument that like best of ones are better. It's literally a band-aid fix for the bottom teams not being able to pull their weight and not being able to grow a fan base or do anything consistent or substantial on that front. Which leads us into the second thing, the biggest one that I think Riot revealed, which is kind of just a continuation of what we saw from Split 1, which is, yes, teams are going to be allowed to scrim and stream their scrims, notably against Tier 2 now as well. It can't be at the same time as Tier 2's game, like the NACL games when they're live, but it can be any time outside of that. To which I would say for teams that are sitting here bitching the entire time that like, oh, we don't get a chance to have our brand out there on the broadcast, stream your freaking scrims. Like dead ass. Nobody else has proven to have a consistent form of content that drives views or viewership than stream scrims. And that is the closest you're going to get to more broadcast days, which you're claiming are the best thing possible for growing your brand. And for Tier 2 people, for Tier 2 fans and Tier 2 players, you should be looking at this as a golden opportunity because the truth of the matter is for Tier 2, outside of the North America or near airport team for Doublelift crew, who's going to be streaming every single day and probably be more popular than every other North American organization not combined. I think that's a bit of a stretch and overstatement, but definitely more than every NACL team. And I mean, Cloud9's kind of the standard. So we'll see what kind of views they're getting on their channel, on their content and everything else there. But if done right, dear God, they're going to be bigger than anybody in Tier 1. It's going to be pathetic. So for teams below them and for Tier 2, you should be streaming everything. The reality is, especially if you're Tier 2, there are 45 of you. Only probably about 5 or 10 probably going to make it into the big leagues over the next 2 years, give or take. Why not give yourself a chance at least having a streaming career, content creation, some sort of route or avenue if you're not going to be getting into the pros anytime soon? Monetize this shit. I know you guys are getting paid peanuts in that league, and I know you think that like, oh, you need to practice and be like this altruistic competition thing. Take notes from everybody else around you that is doing well and monetizing well in the space and stream your scrims. Put content out there. Make yourself a personality and help drive the change that you need to see in Tier 2. Otherwise, I don't want to hear much complaining of like, oh, we're just not that big. Have you put in the work to be able to do it? Especially now with this golden opportunity to stream a team like FlyQuest or 100 Thieves on your channel and make supplemental content out of it. You should be doing everything here. Because in a world, again, where we only have a certain amount of days to be playing games on broadcast, how we fill up the week beyond that is way more important than it ever has been and will continuously be that way. Content continues to be king, folks. This one I have to lash out at least a little bit on, and it was Mark Z's point on how they're going to make sure that scheduling conflicts are not going to be a thing amongst the LEC, the LTA South, and the other regions because it has a very negative impact on the LTA North. And that is their thing that they are claiming is like the problem that caused all of this viewership drop and everything else. In addition to obviously the format kind of being iffy, but like that's the big one that they're claiming. And I'm not here to deny that that might be it. And we could see viewership rebound to the point where it was in spring of last year. I will reference the chart that Riot or Mark Z put out there and was like, yeah, we saw a 20% drop between spring and summer each and every year. And then we would typically try to aim to get that back. The problem is in your own graph, you've showed, if you look at like the every other year percentage, it just keeps dropping. So you're losing your audience and you're not getting them back, which is what we've known. Like that's been the narrative for a bit now, but to see it like in those numbers, it's just like, should be hitting you square in the face that whatever the fuck we've been doing for the last 5 years is not working. But my question is, what dumbass actually organized this schedule in the first place for Split 1? Who thought the regions overlapping would work? You guys have the internal data to show like the overlap of this shit. I would get if like I fuck up and say like, yeah, I think having it on at the same time might be good because we can start building a North American audience. But if you're saying that you can't build a North American audience without Europeans there, that's a whole other thing. Fine. But again, you had the data. There's no excuse to allow that to happen. It's like, this is just as bad as scheduling back-to-back years of LCS finals on Easter Sunday. It's like, you knew this would be a problem based on your metrics if you're assuming that European fans make up a unhealthy chunk of NA viewership. So the fact that somebody actually made the conscious decision to schedule things like this, and to our knowledge, there's been no repercussion for the person that did, is freaking wild to me. I don't understand how Riot is allowed to make mistakes like that. And someone's just like, oh, it was a whoopsie. Sorry, I'm going to keep my job and possibly promote later down the line. Who knows? You can't fuck up things that bad. I would lose my job in a heartbeat if I did that. I don't get why Riot is different. Beyond that, fearless mode changes were great. I mean, there's a bunch of good stuff in this video and some context of Riot owning up to some of their problems that they've had. I'm assuming a lot of this is because red tape was put around Mark Z, and as he again noted in that graph, he's trying to micromanage everything with as little resources as humanly possible while trying to weaken the damage that will be caused by certain decisions that are passed down by Riot Global. Look, Mark Z's in a fucked position because all this is going to kind of shit at the end of the day. But my final takeaway is this. These little changes are nice. I agree. The format for Split 2 is good. Additional best of fives whenever you get to top 6 of playoffs in Split 3, or the elimination match, I think it is, that are all best of fives. Great. Scrim possibilities. The fact that the LTA South does get to scrim or boot camp up here in the North, I don't think that's going to have that big of an impact personally. I mean, good for them, sure. Not saying it's not better than nothing. But at the same time, we've seen North American teams go over and scrim for 2 weeks over in Korea just to forget everything that they learn and still play catch up whenever they go to international events and not be able to catch up. So in what world people think that that's actually going to make a difference for LTA South teams and them catching up is beyond me. You need actual true competition the entire way through. I'm not really going to touch on the fantasy app because it's a daily fantasy thing, which I'm not sold on this working out all that well. Daily fantasy works whenever you have a stake tied to it with gambling, but if there's no money or skins or RP tied to this at all, a daily fantasy app is just tedious and annoying for no reason. So as a creator, maybe it's a beneficial tool for me because I can fork up a skin for my community to play for, fine. But the general community is not going to have that. People just want to be able to play for free unless they make their own leagues and have their own punishments and penalties. But even then, fantasy sports as a whole work because of gambling. When there's no gambling mechanic there, I can't say it's going to do all that well other than the season-long stuff. But this is a lot of work for a season-long fantasy thing, I'm just saying. As somebody who doesn't do fantasy exclusively, but I'm telling you there's going to be an issue. Still happy we got it, to be very clear. Better than Sleeper. Sleeper was tragic. But my closing remark is this. We saw that decline in viewership graph that Mark Z put out there. And the truth is, all these changes, even when you bundle them up together, I don't think are enough to overcome what is the general trend for North America. Even if they invest a shit ton of marketing into the LTA, which they should have done in the first place, I don't know if we're going to be able to recover. I don't know if any of these changes do enough to put us in a position where we can grow this league beyond just getting back to those spring numbers, which great, if we're stable, fine, I guess, but there's no way that that's going to be what people are happy with, especially when you look at the state of the LEC, the LCK, and beyond. We are the punching bag region, and it doesn't feel like we did anything to give ourselves a full leg up. And maybe, look, this is a mid-year update, so maybe I'm expecting, and not maybe, I am expecting too much for a mid-season change. But I guess this is just emblematic that I'm not happy with how things were set up, structured, and executed from the jump for this region. And I want to see things get better. I want to see more in-person fan engagement. A simple thing to do, which maybe this will get announced next week whenever they announce the primer for Split 2, of watch party support. That stuff should be communicated well beforehand. If you didn't know, the first game starts in about a week and a half. And I don't know the schedule yet. So I can't reach out to bars, to locations, to anything else to even organize a watch party. I have to do it all in less than a week's notice, which is just Crazy work. Absolute crazy work. You're not making this easy for me to try and help inflict the change that I want to see on the ecosystem, Riot. But look, I hope I'm wrong. I hope like the takeaway from this video is that he was being overly critical and it all worked out fine in the end and helped us grow, and teams started streaming their scrims and actually putting out like digestible, good content that isn't just like clickbait or kind of like a waste of space. Shout out to Team Liquid and their docu-series, like actually putting out a really good version of one. TL's always kind of been good at that, but this one just highlighted it well. But I hope I'm wrong. Problem is, I don't see myself being that. Maybe that's egotistical, fine, but it's just, there's not enough that I'm seeing here that's like, yeah, we're going to be able to get back and maybe exceed spring last year level. If the viewership stays low and everybody keeps their job at Riot who made this decision, I'm going to lose my goddamn mind.